but the most serious thing I've done is I've groomed a minor. I became friends with a 14-year-old after I made a mental note to myself to not become friends with minors again, and I overshared with them. I shared graphic, explicit materials with them when I shouldn't have. I groomed this child.
A few moments later.
I am not a groomer. I did not groom NO.
The voice you just heard belongs to Synni, a relatively fresh and recent source of drama within the art community where she recently apologised for grooming a 14-year-old. Now, in a normal world, this would be the end of the video. A groomer was caught, a groomer apologised, nobody believes the groomer, so the groomer gets blacklisted from, well, everything, and we all move on with our lives. But alas, some people did not only believe the groomer, but actively gave them PR advice to help her save face, which led to the creation of a pretty convoluted and drawn-out drama that includes like half a dozen content creators at this point, one important self-cancellation, and Synni going back on her admission of grooming. Whilst looking into this drama, I realised there's a trove of videos to watch, with more coming every day, but none that give you sort of a TLDR into what happened and why, or at least none that I've managed to find. It makes sense given the sheer amount of behind-the-scenes conversations, hidden group chats, and the chaotic yet lovable nature of ACC. Given a TLDR on anything that involves these spaces is difficult. So I figured, why not make a video like that myself and have this serve as my, and for many of yours, first entry into the crazy world of the art drama community. Welcome everyone, I'm Chris, and if you're interested in a story about a groomer getting outed, a total lack of accountability, good old-fashioned backstabbery, and a complete lack of the baseline adult capacity to function in a society, all coming from people who should have handlers help them out in their day-to-day lives, then strap on in. If you end up liking the video, or if you're already an ACC veteran who stumbled into my video randomly, please hit that subscribe button and feel free to jump in my Discord. Without any further ado, let's jump into it, and as always, everything is timestamped. This is an opinion piece, and I'm not here to give you objective coverage, I'm here to feed your hunger for drama and save you like 40 hours of research. Our story starts with Synni03, who I'll be calling Synni or Synni throughout this video, and Eno, who is the 14-year-old who was groomed. Synni is, or rather was, a digital artist and a YouTuber with over 500,000 subscribers. Eno reached out to Synni on Discord to show words of support regarding a different drama that Synni was the main character in. While initially mostly unresponsive, Eno kept on messaging Synni, and Synni gave in and began to message her back rather quickly. It's important to know that Synni was very aware of Eno being 14 years old. From there on out, they'd spend hours over voice chat, bond over their mutual love of art, and specifically over Synni's autistic obsession with a character named Boy, a big blue muscular hunk of an imaginary creation, and over the course of the following months, Synni would engage in a ton of fetish conversation about the Boy character, bullying any bullies he meets by hitting them, sitting on their faces, farting in their faces, and ultimately in a comic shared to Eno by Synni, a comic of Synni's creation, raping them as punishment for bad behaviour. On top of all of these, let's say third-party fantasy scenarios, Synni would also very frequently mention how she wanted Boy to plant his fat ass on her face, how he would make her embarrassed and flushed by asking her to have sex with him, and poke fun at her for staring at his manly characteristics. You know, regular stuff that we all fantasize about in our spare time. But I'm not here to kink shame, at least not this king specifically. The issue here centers around how Synni knowingly shared all of this with a 14-year-old, while also being, by her own admission, aware that it's beyond inappropriate. No less because she has already gotten in trouble for talking to people under the age of 18 more than once in the past. On top of simply sharing all of this material, Synni went a step further and asked Eno to read out loud the entire rape comic back to her over voice chat. She sat there and listened while a 14-year-old reads to her a story about how Boy, the character she adores, she being Synni here, rapes those around him as punishment for their bad behaviour. As their inappropriate relationship continued, Synni's roommate, Jack, known as Birdie prior to his transition, who warrants their own video on account of many things, including allegations of fucking a ferret, found out about Eno and her age. He promptly outed Synni and all hell broke loose. It was then that Synni made a video apologising for her having groomed a 14-year-old. Eno came forward with all of the receipts needed for us to have an informed opinion, and every other content creator wanting to share their thoughts jumped into the fray. It's two of these content creators that have basically ruined their credibility and their careers as they were trying to help Synni for no other reason than their own abject stupidity that we will be focusing on today. Just a Robot, or Jar, and Kumo. Starting, of course, with Jar. Jar is an absolutely fascinating creature. He is a commentary channel that talks about drama and politics. More drama than politics, but that's probably for the better. If you wanted to get a full insight into Jar, you'd need a psychology degree and at least 50 hours worth of his content, debates, and Twitter feed. There's a good 1 hour long video made by Coomin that I will link in the description down below that I highly encourage you to watch. And for clarity's sake, I'll give you a massive TLDR as we run through Jar's career and what the fuck made him want to protect a groomer, other than him being a Coomer. Jar's origins on YouTube go all the way back to anti-SJW style videos where he'd give all the milquetoast critiques of progressivism you can think of, while ending his videos playing a reworded rendition of the Battle Hymn of the Republic that he confirmed was inspired by the version from American History X. I'm not joking, by the way, he quite literally admitted to this. He has a bit of a racist past, constantly brings up irrelevant third-party drama in his videos to show how big his E-peen is, holds a grudge like her motherfucker, and hits on seemingly every woman he's ever come into contact with. That being said, we're not here to discuss his racist past, as I don't have a good enough read on him to give you a definite verdict. What I feel comfortable stating is that his primary drive, though, are views. What can get him the most people to click on his video, basically. Granted, we're all like this in the content creator sense, to a certain extent at least, but he's willing to trade all of his credibility for a chance to not so much be first, but at the very least be amongst the first to cover certain trending topics, and that's what he did here. Jar got Synni in a call with him and decided to promptly test out the hypothetical question of how long does it take for people to forget that I leveraged my entire career to protect a groomer? With no objectivity or care for detail, Jar jumped into the Discord call with Synni and made a number of truly godly statements. The exchanges that Synni had with Eno aren't that bad because children watch Naruto.
You can demand that these videos are age restricted, but you can't just cancel Synni for this and give everybody else a free pass. Plus, a lot of this stuff is no more inappropriate than things I've seen in animes like Fairy Tail and Naruto. Never forget what you were like when you were a kid. You enjoyed Misty when she was in her bikini, you enjoyed Naruto when he did his sexy jutsu, and you enjoyed when Fairy Tail just did a whole bunch of stuff.
I don't remember the episode of Naruto where Sasuke gets raped by a big blue creature as a punishment for misbehaving, but then again, I did skip past a few fillers and most of Shippuden. Maybe it happens in Boruto? I've skipped that as well, so I wouldn't know. Later, he said that he wanted to jump on this topic when he first heard Synni admit to grooming because real groomers wouldn't admit to it.
I just had that feeling, the same feeling I got when the Peaches drama started, the same feeling I got when the Spoctor drama started. It's that feeling I get in the back of my neck that just tells me something's not right here. And I thought about it, and I was like, Cosmodor did not admit to grooming until it was too late. Neither EDP to this day has not admitted to doing anything wrong. Groomers don't fucking admit to it.
Further on into the call, he says, I don't think you groomed anyone, at least that's how I feel about this situation, which is quite funny to me because number one, he wouldn't have to rely on his feelings if he went through the receipts, and number two, thinking not being his strong suit in here has dealt a massive blow to his credibility. Apparently, this absolute muppet of a man thinks a prerequisite to grooming someone is romantic attraction. I don't know if he's a few CPU updates behind on or what, but this absolute simpleton actually seems to have thought that you cannot be a groomer unless you're a pedophile on top of it. So because it didn't seem to him like Synni was a kiddie diddler, then she couldn't have been a groomer either.
Yeah, and at least from what I can tell from the messages, there was no indication from on my end that you were trying to get with a 14-year-old romantically.
No.
Yeah. With the way people are talking about this, they're making you seem like the next EDP, the next Cosmodor, or whoever the fuck. Like, And this is like the important question I want to ask you. What like pushed you in to like saying like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I groomed a minor. I'm leaving my channel that I've worked so many years on because of yeah. So what was the thought process there?
I had like a thing in my head where I was just like, oh, this is what like seems like the best option, just to keep everyone happy and safe, I guess. It was mostly me trying to earn back Jack's trust by being open and honest with the people, like with my own audience.
But you weren't honest with them. You said you groomed someone, and I don't...
I thought I did.
Okay, here's the thing, and was the first big red flag to me. At first, I thought this was pretty cut and dry. You got accused, docs were made, there's so much evidence in the doc, they're so long, you must have done it because you admitted to it. So I was working on my video, and then I thought, I just had that feeling, the same feeling I...
It's kind of just really sad if you think about how there's a pretty good chance that Jar, at least in my understanding, stumbled his way into being correct on some drama or another in the past, which has gained him a little bit of fame, and he probably figured he can try doing that again in this situation. And out of all the ACC drama to choose from, and trust me, there's like a new big thing happening every other day, he chose this particular drama. Over 188 pages of receipts, and he risked entire career and didn't read a single one of them. He needs to stay away from Lotto, because god damn. Jar also figured that as a means of backing up his integrity, he will bring up a prior controversy from Synni's life where she was accused of grooming a 17-year-old. And what did Jar have to say about it?
The old stuff she did wasn't that bad. Sure, making a 17-year-old uncomfortable when you're 19 isn't good, but it's not pedo stuff in my book. I'm one of those people who defended Call Me Carson, so I can't say she should be kicked off the internet for doing the same. If you would like to know the story between her and the 17-year-old minor, well basically she sent a bunch of inappropriate messages to the minor. She sent a non-con comic to the minor who was 2 years younger than her. The comic included an F&F character by the name of Boy, who was raping Nightmare Sand supposedly for the punishment of molesting children. Lovely. Oh, and by the way, to make everything worse, the OC by the name of Boy was created by a minor.
Ooh, that's bad.
The minor called out Synni for this, and she apologized and made a promise that she would never ever do something like this again.
That's good.
Now, none of this stuff is wholesome Christian family fun, but it's not that bad. Tons of people have drawn inappropriate pictures of minors' OCs. It's bad, but it's less bad when Synni did it because she was only 2 years older than the minor. If people don't want you to put their OCs in not safe for work situations, you should respect their wishes. But if you draw your OC as a hot anime girl or a big buff man, you should expect people to draw them in not safe for work situations. Personally, guys, just draw not safe for work of me. Plus, there was a video made defending Synni from these allegations. It got hundreds of thousands of views, and it was received extremely well. Sorry, but you can't just agree with a video that's debunking allegations, then change your mind on it because new allegations came out.
No critical reflection from Jar about how Synni appears to have a bit of a track record here. He brings up getting a lot of views again and ends it with a banger of you can't agree with something and then disagree once more evidence comes out. He is an actual fucking idiot, which is then made further apparent when he brings up Romeo and Juliet laws. And I'm gonna be real, I'm new to Artcom, but I've been on the internet a while, and I get big sussy baka vibes when someone brings up Romeo and Juliet, because the odds of them getting the fundamental sort of basis of what it is wrong is like near enough 100%. Yeah, that's the kind of defender that Synni has in her corner. There's a lot to unpack here. Frankly, there's a lot to unpack everywhere because Jar has a tendency to say dumb shit at remarkable speeds. But Romeo and Juliet laws aren't a get-out-of-jail-free card of Exodia-style power. It's a set of rules that vary from state to state and only apply to very specific parts of a relationship. For instance, in many places, even if an 18 and a 17-year-old are in a relationship that abides by the Romeo and Juliet laws, if the 18-year-old was found to have nudes of the 17-year-old on their phone, for example, they could go to jail for possession of CSEM. So shortly after releasing his video defending Synni, when Jar started receiving more backlash than he's probably ever seen before, what did he do? He went and begged in DMs to get people to start running defense for him in the comments section. Now, I will allow myself to yoink one somewhat telling piece of Beckett's interview with Jar, where he says this.
I do have opinions, I do. It's just, I want my opinion to be right.
Which is pretty telling in how his entire process here is backwards. He doesn't make his videos to share his own thoughts because he believes them to be correct. He finds the thoughts that he believes to be correct, often from other people, piles on, and just hopes that he's on the right side of history. He used to make anti-SJW videos when being anti-SJW was trendy. He moved on to drama videos that were trendy, and now he moved on to the defense of Synni because he mistakenly thought that that's where the winds are shifting. I wish I could tell you that this is it, but it really isn't. That being said, this is meant to be a TLDR, so if you feel like doing a deeper dive, I'm gonna link a whole bunch of shit in the description down below for you to enjoy at your own pace. All I will say is that during all of this, Jar was asking Synni to be in voice chat with him as he falls asleep. That's the level we're at, my guys. I wish I could keep on going, but the monumental stupidity of Jar in this specific drama cannot be documented in a single video. And I also fear that if I'm too rude to him, he will make me one of the targets of a secondary YouTube channel that exists solely for the purpose of him attacking other creators on his perceived list of enemies. I also want to move past Jar because there's a different content creator that I wish to focus on instead. So how did Kumo, the excuser, get involved in this drama? Actually, much like Jar, upon finding out what roughly happened, Kumo decided to absolutely skim the receipts directly pointing to Synni being a groomer, conclude that she is in fact not a groomer, and immediately start running defense for her. Why did he do it? Now, I think, and this is the interesting part, this is why I wanted to spend more time on this, it's at least partially because he figured out he can use Synni's vulnerability to weaponize her against her roommate, the alleged ferret fucker, and you did hear me correctly by the way, who is also a person involved in the drama community, art drama community, whom he absolutely fucking despises. There are also a few receipts and moments, especially in their call later, that make me believe he either developed a little bit of a crush on Synni or simply just comes across that way. But I'm gonna be honest, his train of thoughts throughout this drama is strange enough that I can't really pretend to understand it. You'd need a properly experienced retard wrangler and a pair of highly trained Viennese psychologists to tap into the inner workings of most of the people involved in this drama, Kumo included. Probably though, because he wanted revenge and he wanted pum-pum, you know, many such cases. Now, Kumo is quite an interesting character in this broader drama, as he doesn't only inject himself into it out of his own volition, he's also the only person out of this whole ordeal whose internet presence is seemingly gone, at least for now. Now, full chat logs between him and Synni have been leaked since this drama was unleashed, and I do apologize for most of the screenshots being cropped on one side, but they've been taken from a credible source that was reading them out loud that will be in the description down below. These DMs were not shared with me, so yoinking them from Coomin's VOD is the best that I can do. There are also two important videos that we will go over bits and pieces of, and one of them is the call between Synni and Kumo, where he is realizing how big of a fuck up he actually committed to, and the second one is Synni's response video where she says that she's actually not a groomer, and it's this video that she made after receiving extensive help from Kumo. The video of the call between Kumo and Synni is especially fascinating because in my opinion it gives some credence at least to the idea that Kumo was horny, as throughout the entire call he just sounds like a scorned boyfriend. The DMs between Kumo and Synni are pretty wild, and there truly is a ton of them, but the important highlights are Kumo's pretty strong attempts at isolating Synni by repeatedly claiming that her former friends who disowned her on account of her being a groomer weren't her real friends, by reiterating that he is not a threat and will not backstab her at all, which didn't age well by the way, encouraging her to keep her circle of friends as small as possible by keeping people at arm's length, telling her very specifically that she should not lean on anyone else for help as doing so will only backfire, and in a really telling fashion making it clear that what Synni truly needs is to focus the attention on Jack, the roommate of Synni that he hates, instead of herself. Following this absolute insanity, as though all of that isn't already bad enough, in a truly intelligent fashion, Kumo wrote out a full apology for Synni to share with the world that is genuinely amongst the shittiest apologies given the subject matter, and a pretty manipulative one while at it. The full apology goes something like this. To address the porn being shared, honestly I fucked up. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but Eno insisted and I impulsively wanted to share about my interest, so saying no was hard and I failed too. That's on me and I've learned the hard way now. I censored the screen caps of the explicit parts not because I thought it would make it better, but because I still didn't want to send explicit imagery to Eno. I understand how bad it looks at face value, but if you read our interactions, you would have noticed I showed no interest in Eno whilst I was oversharing. I have no attraction to Ino, and sharing the comic was a mistake, but with that said, I know it will never happen again because I'm done with friends. I've learned that things I didn't think twice about were as a result of the company I kept. The animation meme community has a very blurred moral line as to what is and isn't inappropriate to show to minors. Having grown up in it, terminally online, this isn't an excuse when I say it clearly affected my development and my view of things. What I was doing was bad, I didn't believe it was such a big deal because I did not prey on Ino. The very people calling for my cancellation, wishing death upon me, and actively conniving and plotting how they can further ruin my life have also engaged in these behaviours in a similar manner and also blatantly have the same skewed morals. For example, Birdie's 16+ animation of us stripping and taking off our panties at the end of the call-out video. Birdie stating it wouldn't have been acceptable to ask a +16 server for sauce and spicy AI bots for me to sext with. Read the comments and see how many young people are sharing their age. My new friends, who are far removed from this community and are in fact critical of it, have shown me the error of my ways and opened my eyes to what a terribly ignorant hive mind I was a part of. So all in all, Kumo sent Synni a full written out apology for her to copy and paste where he misunderstands the core of the issue, shows poor understanding of the complicated nature of grooming, glazes himself, and deflects responsibility onto other people. Unfortunately for him though, it wasn't smooth sailing from here, as Synni did get in touch with Jar and enlisted his help, which also made the situation even worse. That's the stuff we spoke about in a previous segment. Kumo was really unhappy about this, leading to a number of regrettable statements in a call between himself, Synni, and his minion, who was there basically only to reiterate what Kumo himself says.
Why would you say no to him though? Like, he was your savior. He gave you false hope. You were probably willing to do anything as long as it meant he fixed your career, weren't you?
So in that clip, Kumo weirdly implies that because Jar is known as a bit of a sex pest, Synni would probably let him do anything to her, so long as it meant fixing her career. And you'll have to forgive the weird endless cat gifs, it's just this is literally how Kumo edits his videos. He just adds cat gifs to them.
I don't know. He seems alright. No, you didn't care who he was, Synni. You didn't care. Because even after he made those weird passes at you and you identified that it was weird, you didn't think, oh, something's up. I should probably not talk to him. You thugged it out. You powered through it. And I bet he would have graped you and you would have stayed quiet about it.
Okay,
so long as it meant your fucking career was fixed.
You heard that correctly, by the way. Kumo is so scorned that Synni went to Jar for help that he's saying Jar would have raped her. It's just... There is no credible evidence that I've managed to find that Jar is a rapist, and I believe that Kumo knows this. There have been some allegations in the past, but it is my understanding that those have long since been debunked. So Kumo is basically just this angry that Synni went to somebody else for help. When I mentioned earlier that he's starting to behave like a scorned boyfriend, this is sort of the vibe that I had in mind. It's just so genuinely strange to listen to.
Are you going to call... Can we call her a pedophile now?
I don't know, I'm gonna need time to digest that.
That ungodly screech came from Romantic Goblin. She's one of Kumo's brainlet minions, and it's a nice little illustration of how Kumo went from she's not even a groomer guys, trust me, to I need to digest all of this info before I can call her a nonce, when the info that needs digesting was available to him from the get-go.
We genuinely believed, Synni, that you were just oversharing and this was like a result of you being super autistic. We gave you that benefit of the doubt when nobody else would. We were the only ones being fair. And rather than just being honest...
I thought I was being honest. I didn't...
No, you
I wasn't trying to hide things.
Told us. You weren't trying to omit important details like that. Frustrated that I didn't know. I could not have known about this until just a robot came in and fucked everything up for you.
These were the last clips I wanted to show you, and I'm mostly doing this just so you have an inkling that I'm not making shit up. This is the creme de la creme of the entire drama. Kumo could not have known about any of this, of course. Except he could have. He should have. He just didn't give a fuck. But remember, Jar fucked everything up. Not Kumo's incompetence, it was other people who were to blame. Because, you know, Kumo is a spineless fuck. Now, this entire call is an hour long, and these were merely a few clips, so the whole thing will be linked down below for you to watch. This call mostly revolves around Kumo attacking Synni for not telling him things that he would have known, or at least known to have asked for, if he properly examined the doc in a last-ditch attempt at saving his own career, except it's interwoven with these really weird scorned boyfriend moments, where he almost seems jealous that Synni dared to go to somebody else for help. I could be reading into this a bit much, but this whole drama is a big feels weird, man. If you go over the full DMs, you'll see Kumo sending Synni good morning messages and calling her a sunshine. All of this was happening after Kumo tried speaking to other content creators to give his side of the story and expose a broader audience to a sympathetic perspective towards Synni, which was bought nowhere and almost by nobody, and this ultimately ended up with Kumo realizing he has used his entire career to defend an actual groomer, that his attacks on Jack were unsuccessful, that he might have committed an actual crime by getting Synni to hack into her roommate's laptop to get dirt on him, which is a whole other thing we won't have time to get into in favor of keeping this video's runtime short-ish, and then he disappeared off of the internet. He probably will come back, as these people can't help themselves, but the fuck up here is monumental. And now, to wrap this story arc up, we are back to Synni. So what did Synni's response video entail? You know, the one that she crafted after receiving help from Kumo? For the most part, absolutely nothing of any fucking value. In an unbelievable course of action, Synni released a 36-minute response video, out of which only about the first 12 are actually about the grooming itself. The rest is an interpersonal drama between her and her ex-roommate at Kumo's behest. And hey, don't get me wrong, looks like her ex-roommate is a bit fucking insane, or rather quite a bit fucking insane, but the main issue here is the grooming that happened. So you might wonder, why is the video structured that way? Probably figuring out the reason, and it's that Kumo hates Synni's roommate to a point so aggressive that it didn't dawn on him that the subject matter Synni is covering is at least serious enough to warrant more than 1/3 of the video's total runtime. I mean, that would be partially because Kumo, while helping Synni out, described the interactions of her with a 14-year-old as, and I quote, locker room girl talk.
I did not minimalize it. What are you talking about? I said it was a
girl
crime.
talk by describing it as locker room girl talk. I literally called it a
crime.
You described it as locker room girl talk. You described it as locker room girl talk.
Yes, as opposed to describing it as grooming. A deliberate act. Literally a deliberate act.
And Synni herself then ran the defense of, and I shit you not, I'm not a groomer because the conversations we had weren't about sex, they were about sadomasochism.
Now that I think about it, majority of the inappropriate conversations we had revolved around sadomasochism and like sadistic fantasies, not really sex. Sex was definitely brought up, but it was never my intention to educate NO about it.
Yeah. Now, even if for whatever reason we want to set aside the fact that every single one of these quote-unquote sadomasochism messages carries intense sexual undertones, often with drawings accompanying those undertones, what she should be apologizing for is how she had Eno, the 14-year-old, read out loud a rape comic that she wrote while in a private call with her. But what we get instead is Kumo's revenge fantasy against Jack, because having a 14-year-old read out loud the sexual fantasies of a grown-ass adult is, in Kumo's misinformed opinion, locker room girl talk. Now, I've been told that since all of this happened, Synni has already returned to content creation and made a new video. I haven't watched it yet, but given that this wasn't even her first grooming allegation, I'd keep her name in the back of your mind, because odds are we'll talk about her again in the future. So that will be it for the TLDR of the most recent insanity to come out of the ACC. At the time of this video actually releasing, probably not even the most recent insanity. Another grooming situation that will have people learn absolutely no lessons from. But it's good content and fun to talk about, although rather depressing, so here we are. There's probably quite a lot of important things you could learn from this video, but frankly, if you're not a barely sentient troglodyte, I shouldn't have to tell you not to skim on the receipts when you're about to defend someone who is considered a groomer. I shouldn't have to tell you to have a strong, level-headed support group if you want to make a video defending the said groomer, and I shouldn't have to tell you that there are better ways to fill up the loneliness of your heart than to ask a groomer with questionable track record of engaging with minors to be in voice chat with you as you fall asleep. What I will tell you is this. Credibility means different things to different people, and I can't tell you how to think, but I believe that should a drama akin to this ever happen again in the future, then people like Just a Robot, people like Kumo Commentary, and of course Synni herself are not to be trusted. Not only have these people proven they don't give a flying fuck about due diligence, even in the face of a 14-year-old grooming victim, but they are an active enemy of anyone who does. People like Kumo and Jar have established themselves, with their very own words, as people too confused, malicious, or otherwise too immature to be taken seriously when the subject matter changes from petty ACC drama into something more serious, like the grooming of a child. This will be it for today's video, and if you want to hear more about Synni's ferret fucking insane roommate, who's apparently far more insane than just the ferret fucking, please let me know down below so I know what video to prioritize. Special thanks to my Golden Oni fans and my Patreon supporters, whose name you will be seeing on screen right now. If you wish to have a say in what videos I cover in the future, I warmly encourage you to join my Discord and to join my Patreon. And also, of course, to hit the subscribe button. That will be it for today. Enjoy the rest of your day, good night, and take care. Bye-bye.